So you've got an actual brain.
Yes. That's what you imagine when you see a human brain, but this is a goat brain.
Is my brain like this?
Your brain is bigger than this. It's about 1.5 kilograms. If I gave you a rat brain, okay? So
It's
now
a rat brain.
that's a rat brain.
What can this preserved brain tell you about a living brain which is inside?
Okay, so you can cut this into sections. Yeah, hold on.
Oh, you just cut it.
Vidita Vaidya, one of India's leading neuroscientists, has spent decades studying the most complex organ in the human body, the brain. If you've ever wondered why your mind works the way it does, then this conversation will completely change the way you understand yourself.
If somebody is watching this and they want to find out that what kind of winner they can be,
Go for the most sustainable. And the most sustainable is when you fall in love with doing something. That is the single most sustainable way of the long-term likelihood that you will achieve something.
can you tell me like a framework or a question or an exercise so that we can find out which process will work for us?
I would first say find out what you thoroughly have enjoyed doing. 2, you find out whether you're willing to do the work. That's the sustainability. And 3, I think you have to ask that if you didn't get the outcome that you wanted, would the process have given you enough joy? That's the hardest question to answer, but that's the question that's worth answering.
Why are some people are so good with their memory and they remember everything versus some individuals are not?
The brain is much more plastic and much more open to change in a younger nervous system. So your first 25 years of your life, that's a window in which there's much more plasticity than in the second 25 and the last 25. It's downhill after that first 25. So when I say plasticity, it means the ability of your brain to change in response to environment, to be able to adapt better to the world.
The word which is now I'm going to say is very loosely used these days. It's called anxiety. So explain me simply, like, what is anxiety?
Anxiety is when there is no obvious threat. You can't see a threat, nobody else can see a threat, but your body is responding like there is an immediate threat, which means what? My palms will sweat, my mouth will dry, my heart rate goes up. It's literally as bad as a heart attack.
If you open up, let's say, a billionaire's brain, Elon Musk, and you open up a brain of a 25-year-old feeling stuck, will their brains be identical or different? आगे बढ़ने से पहले इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर लीजिए ताकि हम आपके लिए इसी तरह से और इंसाइटफुल और बेहतर पॉडकास्ट बनाते रहें। एंड इस पूरे शो का ऑडियो एक्सपीरियंस स्पॉटिफाई पे अवेलेबल है जहाँ पे आप हमें फॉलो कर सकते हैं। एंजॉय द शो। So you've got an actual brain.
Yes, these are your gloves.
Okay.
And that's my set. And we'll wear them because we have to wear them because these brains have paraformaldehyde in them. And so for safety reasons, we have to have our gloves on. So
What do they have again?
paraformaldehyde, that's what keeps the brain tissue fixed.
Okay.
Okay, so shall we take this
Yes.
particular brain out and take a look?
So if I touch it from my bare hands, what will happen?
Probably not a great idea because you might have a situation in which you might get some rash
Okay.
because there's paraformaldehyde in it. But I can give you some now in your hand. Now I can give you the brain. This is a goat brain. And it does in many ways resemble our brain. As you can clearly see, it has a lot of these folds, right? Because most of this tissue is folded now. So that's the gyri and sulci of the brain. That's what you imagine when you see a human brain. But this is a goat brain.
But is my brain like this?
Your brain is bigger than this. It's about 1.5 kilograms. This is clearly not 1.5 kilograms. This must be about 200.
But does it feel the same?
It feels the same if it is fixed. The human brain would feel the same if it was fixed.
Okay.
And so if you were looking at a fixed human brain, it would be larger. It would be about this much. And this is much smaller. But many of the structures are shared between the goat brain and our brain.
Tell me one major difference between our brain and goat brain and one similarity.
Okay. One big difference is if it was a human brain, the cortex, which is this part, would be much bigger. You wouldn't be able to see the cerebellum because the cortex would have expanded and flowed over the cerebellum, tucking the cerebellum underneath. So this would not be visible in a human brain as easily because this has become so
bigger.
large. in evolution, this has grown so big that it has flowed over it on either sides, and this has got tucked in.
Okay.
Okay. The other big thing is, you remember we stand on 2 feet, right? So we're bipedal. So imagine if this was a goat, this is its head and it has 4 legs. This has also moved like this. So you would see the human brain, this would be tucked underneath. This would be much bigger and flowing on either side. The spinal cord going down like this, rather than the spinal cord coming out.
Oh, so this is like...
This is the beginnings of the spinal cord. From here would come out the long spinal cord, with nerves coming out on either sides that control the limbs, the rest of the body. That's one obvious difference.
Interesting.
Obviously, the size is a big obvious difference.
But where does, let's say, the part which, let's say, in humans, because we are more desirous, so where the desire and ambition and all of that plays out in the human brain versus an animal brain?
So goats have the ambition of also finding effective grass to eat.
Okay. Yeah.
They have that ambition.
Yeah.
And we don't consider it the kind of ambition that we think of. But if a goat doesn't have the motivation to find grass, to find food, to drink enough water, it won't survive either. So the motivation circuits are actually fairly similar. The same things that make you want to go and eat are the same things that make you ambitious to want to land on the moon. It's the same underlying circuitry. It's just that it's doing very different things in humans from goats.
Okay.
But goats have motivation circuitry. Without motivation circuitry, the animal will not survive.
And physically, where is it? If you can point out.
It's in a structure called the ventral tegmental area, which will be right underneath this. So if you go underneath that, there's a structure there called the ventral tegmental area. And then there are nerves that go all the way underneath. Here is a region called the striatum. If I opened it up, you would see it. At the base of the striatum is a structure called the nucleus accumbens. That's where motivation resides.
Can I just turn it around?
Yeah, turn it around.
So this is where...
So,
and in humans also it's similar.
It's very similar. It's very similar. That's there whether you are a rat, you're a mouse, you're a squirrel, you're a goat, you're a human. We all have that baseline circuitry in our brain. It's the same circuitry that makes you feel thirst and motivated to go drink water, eat food, have sex. These are all the same underlying building blocks.
Under the brain.
It's inside.
So
it's embedded underneath here.
And what is protecting? Like what's the outside?
So this stuff right here, coming out of here would be your pituitary.
What does it mean?
Which makes all the hormones of your body. The testosterone, the estrogen, the thyroid hormone, all of those hormones that go everywhere in the rest of the body and do the job of, hormonal control and metabolism, come out from a little stalk, which has now gotten chopped off. But here's the hypothalamus, and the pituitary would emerge from here. You can also see it in you would see the same thing if I gave you a rat brain, okay? So
it's
now
a rat brain.
That's a rat brain. Now, what is obvious to you first and foremost is this is smooth. And this is curly and wrinkled, and that is absolutely smooth.
And why is like that?
That's because the cortex is relatively less in size, and in the skull it fits without having to fold.
Okay.
Whereas in the goat brain, the cortex is already expanded, and for it to fit, it has to fold. So if you take out this cortex and flatten it, right? Like if you flatten it out, it would be a 1 rupee coin. If you take this out and flatten it out, it'll be like a small puri.
Okay.
If you take out a monkey brain and you do the same thing and flatten it out, it'll be a largish chapati. And if you take a human being brain and flatten it out, it'll be a pizza.
It'll be that big.
It's big. So now, but the skull hasn't commensurately expanded. We are not walking around with skulls that are this big, right? Like Megamind. We have small skulls. So now the stuff has to still fit. So to fit, it has to fold and fold and fold. And that's wrinkles. Why you have these folds, which are called gyri and sulci. And here you don't need to fold.
Because
so it's a smooth brain. It's called a lissencephalic brain, which is a smooth brain.
But here's a question. So these brains are preserved brains.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What's the difference between a live brain, which is probably right now in my head or in some living animal, versus a dead brain and versus a preserved brain?
So a dead brain, suppose we just took the brain out of the body, then there would be a lot more blood that would be immediately visible. The brain receives a large amount of your blood supply. So you would see blood, which you don't see here at all because the blood has been removed and cleared out. Okay. Also, it's significantly softer because when the tissue dies, the cells start dying. And as they die, they literally dissolve away. There are all these enzymes that are chewing up stuff. So it will fall apart. If I give you a live brain, in a few minutes, it'll start falling apart.
Okay.
Here, this is preserved because it's had formalin, or a lot of people would have seen this in school when you go into the laboratories and you see things in these long jars.
Yeah.
And you see one snake or you see some body part. It's been preserved. It's been preserved by using formalin or formaldehyde, which preserves the brain. And now this will stay like this for actually years.
Interesting. But does it change anything while you're researching or doing anything?
It does change things which we can't easily test in this. So for example, if I want to look at RNA or DNA or look at the genes that are being switched on, I can't do it in a preserved brain. I have to do it in a live brain.
And does it shrink in size?
It does shrink a little bit because this sort of formalin, once you cross-link proteins, things become tighter. And because they become tighter, things become more tightly connected. It does shrink it a little bit. So it is a little bit smaller, but not a lot.
And now that this is preserved with all these things, what can this preserved brain tell you about a living brain which is inside my mind?
So you can cut this into sections.
Okay.
So let's put this fellow back right here. And let's take that and let me show you its younger or rather other evolutionary relative. That's the mouse. So you get a sense of how the mouse brain.
Wait, mouse and rats are different.
They're two different things. I know we all say chua and we think that the chua is just a chua.
Okay, is
or
it a genuine thing or am I like really dumb? Right?
You would not be the first person who's asked this question. So people are like, rat and mouse, isn't that just the same thing?
Yeah.
You've seen a big rat, right?
Yeah.
And you've also seen these little, but they're not baby rats. They're actually mice, which is a totally different species.
Oh.
So that is a mouse brain and that is a rat brain. And so the mouse is significantly smaller. It's like about 25 grams, an adult mouse.
Okay.
And a rat, adult rat would be about 250 grams.
So the big
they are
ones, yeah.
significantly bigger, right?
The
And
one
so
you see on train stations, and that's
the one you see on train stations is this. The one that's probably wandering around in your house in the corner, which is eating up the food, is more likely to be a house mouse.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I expected a very different answer.
I wish it was a different answer.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
expected
hopefully a motivation for all your podcast viewers. Maybe some amongst your gang of podcast viewers will be future neuroscientists. And they'll say, how is it that after so many years of studying the brain, here's a person who can't answer this question?
Is it more because of Freud's influence?
No, it's just a consequence of the fact that negative emotions have been easier to study because they're easier to read out, and there's an obvious readout that is evolutionarily conserved. Very strongly. Fear has been evolutionarily conserved across species. It's easier to study.
Interesting.
Joy is a difficult one to study. First of all, it's hard to pinpoint your fear, my fear, the responses are similar. Your joy, my joy are not identical.
Absolutely
and also very, very different. Very difficult to figure out. Much more distributed, much more variant, much more heterogeneous, not conserved across species the same way. Hard question.
Wow. What an end to the podcast.
Very hard question.
Wow. But thank you so much for spending time with me.
So much fun. That
Thank
was a
you.
lot of fun. I
Thank you.
thoroughly enjoyed it. That was great fun. Go in there.
Nice to see you. Hi. Hello. No, pleasure meeting you.
Can we get sanitizers as well?
Is that the first time you've ever cut?
Yeah, like first time I've seen a brain. What cut?
You did very well. That was actually a very steady hand. It went smooth.
Because I was expecting that I might end up puking.
Are you serious?
Like for real, like, I was not able to take I told you, my olfactory,
Yeah, you can smell
Smell
You
it,
can
yeah.
smell it. Yeah, it smells like how hospitals smell.
It smells
You have a little bit of that formaldehyde kind. That's
little
what-
bit of
like a
hospital, but
bit.
little more than that. Like I don't know what it smells like.
थैंक यू सो मच ये एपिसोड एंड तक देखने के लिए। अब आपको 3 चीजें करनी है। नंबर 1, अभी इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर लो, क्योंकि जितना आप सब्सक्राइब करोगे उतने ही बेहतर हम गेस्ट ला पाएंगे आपके लिए। नंबर 2, प्लीज कमेंट में हमें बताइए कि हमने क्या गलत किया और क्या अच्छा किया, ताकि उस फीडबैक से हम सीख सकें और आपके लिए और बेहतर एक्सपीरियंस क्रिएट कर सकें। एंड नंबर 3, ये एपिसोड किसी एक इंसान के साथ ज़रूर शेयर करना, क्योंकि एक कॉन्वर्सेशन इनफ होती है किसी की ज़िंदगी चेंज करने के लिए। आई विल सी यू नेक्स्ट टाइम। अंटिल देन, कीप फिगरिंग आउट।